Howdy folks, Calibrated.Core here. I'm excited to announce that the artillery field report has been released, and I wanted to go ahead and get some information out there for you. But before we get started, let's go ahead and check out this amazing trailer, and we'll talk about it after.
Achieved with CryEngine.
Welcome back everybody, and I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, it absolutely blows my mind. Actually, no pun intended on that one. It is incredible. I've watched it 100 times, and every time I watch it, it gives me chills with how amazing it looks. So firstly, we really need to thank the developers of Campfire Games. I know this is one of the most anticipated features since the game actually went into early access on Steam last December. And, you know, like I said, I can't express how excited I am for this artillery update to drop. One of the things amongst many that I love about these developers is the fact that they try and attempt to make everything as realistic and authentic as possible. Like you guys saw in the video, the artillerymen, the guns, the caissons, the limber, and all the different pieces of equipment just look absolutely fantastic and are authentic to the Civil War time period. In fact, that's probably one of the best reloading animations of cannons that I have ever seen. And in fact, I don't even recall seeing anything like that in any other game before. So let's go ahead and jump into this field report. I know quite a few have already seen the video and already read the report yourself, but I'm going to go ahead and hit on some of the main points that I think are pretty important for the overall implementation of artillery in War of Rights. So one of the neatest things that I saw was the fact that it says different artillery classes with different tools and weaponry. As we saw in the video itself, we saw that the sponge rammers were on there, the worms were on there, the sponge bucket, the priming wire, even the gauntlets on the artillerymen. And once again, this harkens back to what I was saying about the attention to detail. That is one of the coolest features of this game, I think, is just having all these little different accessories that really tie the artillery battery position together. And furthermore, just having the reloading animations just look absolutely fantastic. So I'm really excited to being able to give this a shot and recording it for you guys to see in the future. Secondly, another thing that I noticed was the fact that the pushable cannons buy wheels with 2 players at once. This is freaking cool. And what I've noticed, if you watch the video again, you'll actually see that it's kind of like a variable speed. You can actually push it pretty quickly or you can push it pretty slowly. And in fact, I'll see if I can post that up here for you guys to see. And I think that's really cool, as opposed to just one speed where you have to slowly push it along. It'd be really neat to see some sort of a sprint or stamina system where your guy can push the cannon a certain distance as fast as they can with 2 people or something of the sort, because that is absolutely fantastic. As a former powder monkey before my first time reenacting, I can definitely appreciate having to head back from the limber to the gun each time to reload. That is pretty cool, and I think that's a really neat attention to detail on that as well. Most people would have, you know, the powder lying next to the gun or something like that, so it's ease of access for the players. But once again, it's just the fact that we get this realism that the powder monkey has to run between the limber and the gun back and forth to be able to reload. That is just excellent. I think that's going to be a really neat simulation of what it was really like to crew a gun during war. And to add to that, just the recoil from the gun firing and having somebody push the cannon back to its initial position in order to maintain accurate fire is really, really neat. That's something that you don't see in games. A lot of the time you'll just see the gun fire, it pulls back in a recoil, or it may automatically just move itself back up there. But the fact that you have to reposition the gun and can move it around the battlefield is really neat. And furthermore, the fact that you can even push the limbers around the battlefield to keep the guns supplied is awesome. This is just really going to add in-depth element that's missing in a lot of games. And in fact, I always tell people that this game is more of a military simulation than it is a first-person shooter. If you're looking for something that's authentic, historically correct, and you want to know what it was like to be in the Civil War without spending thousands in reenacting, this is the game for you. It is absolutely unbelievable. And when artillery and cavalry drops, it's just going to be the cherry on the cake, I think. So once again, there's a lot of elements that I didn't discuss here today. There's things that you saw in the video that I didn't talk about, so make sure you head over to the field report to be able to get the full details. Now, everything that I've talked about thus far is what the developers have stated will be in the game when the artillery update drops. But they've also been looking towards the future for obvious reasons, right? So they included a short list of some of the things that they will or are planning to add in the future. And I think it's pretty cool to go over because it's just as important. So one of the first things that caught my eye was artillery-specific team damage punishment system. The first release of artillery will have friendly fire turned off. Thank God, because that's going to be an absolute massacre when artillery is first implemented. Friendly fire is going to be through the roof, especially with the additions of the different types of shells that they're going to be adding into the game when artillery releases, such as explosive shell, canister shot, and round ball. I can't imagine how brutal that's going to be when the shells are actually implemented in the game, and I really look forward to seeing how this is going to turn out. Now, thankfully, like I said, friendly fire will be turned off initially, so we'll get a chance to be able to learn the role of a proper crewman in the Civil War and be able to kind of play around with the batteries and see how they move around the field. So speaking of explosive shells, one of the things that the developers want to implement in the future is chance of explosion when hitting the limbers and chance of explosion when hitting the shell while it is being carried over to the gun for loading. That's going to be absolutely insane, and I'm curious to know if that's going to actually knock out the gun and the crew as a whole. And if that's the case, is that going to incur a significant ticket penalty? I mean, what you guys know from artillery is that your guns are just looked at, especially just like the colors. You know, if you lose a gun, that's an incredible dishonor. So it'll be interesting to see if losing a gun in this game will be equivalent to losing a significant amount of tickets, such as being out of line or something of the sort. Now, this actually did happen during the Civil War. And in fact, if you look up the Battle of Pleasant Hill for Pleasant Hill, Louisiana, one of the Confederate shells hit a Union limber and destroyed the whole battery and everybody around it. It was actually pretty brutal. So it's definitely going to be an interesting addition to the game, and I really look forward to it. Another important point that they brought up was the fact that fence destruction will be a real occurring event. And that's pretty cool because at least we'll be able to maneuver the guns a little easier instead of having to stop at the fence line and be hemmed in on certain parts of the battlefield, because at least then we won't be corralled into specific area. And not only that, but we're potentially going to be getting horse-drawn artillery, which is going to be absolutely outstanding. Can you imagine just running around the battlefield pulling a case on with a mountain howitzer or a specific gun on there and being able to deploy in front of the Confederate or Union lines or something like that? That is going to be exceptional, and I'm very excited to see that happen. So that pretty much sums up all the major points that I read about in the development blog from what we're supposed to be getting when the update drops and in the future. But I'd like to end this video with a couple of other things. They also teased us, I guess you can say, and showed us a few glimpses of the cavalry models that they're going to be putting in. Now, cavalry models as being the actual horses. And they stated that one of the benefits of supporting framework for the artillery is that it has been built from the ground up with cavalry in mind. So this is pretty cool because I know cavalry was promised on the roadmap as well when it was released back in December, if I remember correctly. So it's neat to see that they are still planning to add cavalry in some sort of capacity within the game. And as you can see from the screenshots, I mean, the models look fantastic. I wouldn't expect any less from those guys. So hopefully they can get it right. Cavalry is kind of an interesting issue with this game. There's still some animations and a few bugs that they got to work out on that. So I'm not too keen on seeing that implemented just yet. I feel like I'd really want them to get the infantry play down and the artillery play down first before they get into the cavalry aspect of it. But I have no doubt in my mind that they will succeed and make it just as amazing and well fleshed out like the infantry and artillery gameplay already seems to be. So last but not least is always the famous question. Calibrated, when can we expect to see artillery? And judging by this, I have no frickin' idea. It seems to me that they are well on their way to completing that task, but I really have no idea. And the developers haven't given us any information about that. They said, and I quote, "We do not know yet, but great advances are currently being made each day in order to ensure that the release isn't too far off." Now that could literally mean anything, but I do have high hopes that they're going to be releasing this soon. like I said, it already looks like many of the mechanics are in play, and I really am excited to see this implemented. Now, as you guys know, there's a whole bunch of other information in the development blog that I didn't go over, such as the Confederate Artillery Camp and Firing Range and the Union Artillery Camp and Firing Range, which is a few screenshots that I'll throw up here towards the end. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. And furthermore, hit that notification bell, because that really allows me to be able to deliver some good quality content to you guys, and you guys actually get notified. Furthermore, go thank the devs for all their hard work, say hello to them, pop over to the original field report and the video itself, let them know what you guys think, and I really look forward to hearing what you guys think about this video in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to me. I will try my best to answer them and get back to you guys as soon as possible. As always, thank you very much for joining me. This has been a fantastic video. I've certainly enjoyed making it for you guys, and I really appreciate my sponsors. Matt, General Cody, Nathan LaBelle, JR, you guys are fantastic. Red, haven't forgot about you. You are the man. Thank you for being sponsors of the channel, and I really look forward to seeing you guys here in the future in some of my live streams. So take care, everybody. Thanks for being here, and I will see you all on the battlefield.